find the joy in the little things. Just look at the Christmas tree and find, there's this season, there's joy, but find it all year long. I don't know if that was sage advice or not, but
no, it's good. Find the joy and be grateful.
Be grateful.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let things go. Learn to let things go.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. And today is a very special episode for me. This is not going to be a normal episode that we have. In fact, today I get the pleasure of interviewing my best friend, my wife, Alex. And we've been in the real estate industry together, actually, for almost our entire marriage. So in January of 2025, we'll be celebrating our 31st anniversary. And honey, can you believe we've been doing this for 31 years together?
Wow. The years just seem to go by so fast, don't they?
So much. So today we're going to be about as real as we can with all of you. We're going to talk about our good times. We're going to talk about some of our hard times, talking about raising children, how we attempted to care, how we're trying to attempt to care for an aging parent, Alex's father, and how we've also been in the same industry for so long together. And so welcome, honey. Welcome. It's such an honor to have you on the show. I couldn't do things like this without your support if you weren't supporting me behind the scenes. So thanks for coming on today.
Of course. We're a team. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, my friends, Alex and I met back in college. We actually met in German class, to be exact. And I remember when I asked you if you date a younger man, it was kind of not a very clever pitch. I was kind of nervous when I asked it. So, do you remember that? And what'd you think about me, by the way?
Well, let's see. In German class, there was this young whippersnapper sitting behind me, two rows behind me. Well, and I remember it was your birthday. And first of all, Jeff would always raise his hand. He'd be the first one to answer any questions, kind of a teacher's pet, So it was his birthday, and he decides to tell everyone it's his birthday. So I turned around and I said, well, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 20. And I go, wow, you're a youngin'. And then you said, do you date younger men? Well, then as soon as you said that, I remember his name, Crit, was sitting right behind me. And he goes, oh, do you date older men? And I'm like, what, how old are you? Like 30? Because he was so much older than us. And anyway, so I chose the youngin' to go out with. And I guess the rest is history. I think we went and saw Jay Leno. Our first date was Jay Leno in concert at Centennial Hall at the U of A.
Yep. So all you Wildcats out there, that was it. That's where we started. we were Wildcats. That's where we met. It seems like it was just yesterday. I guess, what gives me a lot of joy in our marriage is, we look back at, almost 31 years, I don't think I'd do anything differently. We've had some struggles at times, but when I look back, I feel pretty fortunate, So, I guess we should talk about, why we're still married, huh? How did we get this far? And because you look at, the past and our history, a lot of the people we used to know at the very beginning are no longer married. We've had a lot of people that got divorced that we knew. And quite honestly, we've lost some people too that have lost their lives at earlier ages. So what do you think, honey? How have we made it this far?
I don't know. It's communication's a big thing. Jeff and I are both firstborn, so that makes for some really good arguments. But because, both of us always have to be right. But I just really think communication is the key, and getting over things and understanding and realizing that we're different and being okay with the fact that we each have our own little quirks and trying not to focus in on the little things and just enjoy the bigger things.
Yeah, it's so true. We're both what would be what's called a high D. If you ever take a DISC assessment, those are those behavioral instruments we talk about a lot. Alex and I are actually wired very similarly, and that makes it very interesting because usually you see couples and you say, well, they complement each other. They're very different from each other. In a lot of ways, we're very much the same. So we're very competitive and we're very driven. And so when we want to make our point, she's right. We definitely are very aggressive in making our point.
There's many a times that we're like, oh, you have to get the last word. No, you have to get the last word.
Exactly. It's kind of a silly game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And my little brother he would agree with all of that too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I think about the last few years, especially, I think about all the good times we've had, and I think about some of the real struggles. I think probably the hardest year possibly for us was 2020, which probably wasn't unlike others as well that are listening to this. That year, we both had to make serious adaptations in our businesses. I was out showing homes in 2020 when honestly, a lot of my counterparts in the business did not even want to go show houses. A lot of sellers didn't want people in their homes. There was a lot of restrictions, and it was just a very tense time in the business. And on top of that, my wife ran a title company, a branch office for a national title company in Phoenix. So that was different. People weren't coming in to sign anymore, and a lot of mobile notaries. It was just a very scary time, and in business, it was just tough. It was really hard. My dad was diagnosed with cancer in early 2020, and he actually lost his life in July after he contracted cancer, and he was going through chemo and radiation. So when he got COVID, my father died 3 days later. So it was a hard year, and Alex had to kind of deal with me and all the, I guess, the anger and resentment I had for so many things, for the government, for hospitals, having to beg to have our family members come in to see my dad. And it was just I was very bitter. And Alex was gracious enough to be on the receiving end of that. And I know that must have not been easy for her as my life partner to basically deal with that, because I was not the normal Jeff in 2020. So, and Alex had a lot of struggles at work too, and a lot of challenges, but she persevered. So when you think back at that in that year, honey, how do you feel about that particular year?
I think most of us can just say that time was more, and for lack of a better word, survival in so many ways, survival in work, survival, just every day not knowing what was coming next, or if we would ever get back to any kind of normal, adjusting to that. We had both of our kids were in college at the time, so they both had to come home. Christian was at the U of A, Micah was in California, so we had to get them home. So then we, went from empty nesting for just, a little while to everyone back home, which, in that case, I do feel the only part of that year, those years of COVID that I felt were, if you're going to take something good out of it, was the fact that we had more family time. We were able to eat together. We all lived together. We couldn't really go anywhere. So we had more time together. And for that, I think if you're going to take anything good out of it, whatever you can, was the fact that we had more time together. But that, and then getting hit the curveball with your dad, it's just, it was so unfair to so many people. And, we just did the best we could, and we had to wait. I mean, we couldn't even, have a funeral for him. And, that was hard on your mom and you and your sister. So, I think survival in so many ways in that time, we're just getting up, doing what you can, and just making it through. And we did, and, God bless all the ones that we lost, and it's not trying to downplay it at all. It was a bad time, but, we had each other, we had family.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you perfectly put that. I think about what you said about some of the positives. We got to have a lot more family dinners. Mm-hmm. And, did you notice everything slowed down? And it just made me really think about how nice it was to slow everything down. There wasn't a lot of traffic. Everything was clear, and there was less pollution, and it just seemed like there was more of a wanting to be present with other people. And I guess you're right. That's the one thing I took out of that is just that presence with other people. And then it made me realize that you can't take anything for granted, because things can change so quickly. No,
and it's sad to think of. We had family. What about the people that were, the elderly that are, couldn't have the interaction with people? I think of my parents when they were down in Tucson. They literally never went out. and they had each other, but then there's, people that were alone. And for that time, it made it, that was hard for people, because people need people. We need people. I'm an extroverted introvert. There's times that I need to recharge, but I still need to be around people. We get energy from people.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully good energy and not the negative energy, but
Yeah. And after the kids left, and there's a lot of empty nesters out there, we were really excited. We actually were starting to get into some rhythms. We were cooking dinner together, and then kind of all hell broke loose, and COVID happened, and kids were moving back in, and we had to deal with obviously the sickness of many people. And a lot of you guys know that I'm a bivocational pastor, so being a part-time pastor, I had to deal with a lot of people that were sick and dying in my church. But on top of all this, Alex lost her mom not too far after I lost my dad. And now Alex is dealing with her father, who's suffering from dementia, a cruel disease, an absolute cruel disease. And that's been an ongoing challenge, because we have to deal with a variety of experiences every day, especially Alex. She's the one that shoulders the hard times with that situation. And we really don't know what the next day is going to bring with that disease. It's kind of like an emotional roller coaster. So how are you managing that, Alex?
I think really for me, I have to what is the word?
Compartmentalize.
Thank you. No. And just kind of I have to put it in perspective, because it can really, there's been times that I've been very upset and very stressed out and very just, but I think I've gotten more into a rhythm, and knowing that, I have to take the very good times with him now, and not get so guilt-ridden on the bad times, when, he's having one of his episodes, and, it's just taking the good, he's had good days the past couple of days, and, those are the days that you just want to cherish those. But you really have to remember that you can't do everything, and that you need help, and asking for help is the biggest thing. And, you had a lot of guilt. We tried to keep him at the house for a year, and it just got, too much for our pay grade, just being a caregiver. And it broke my heart to have to put him into a group home. But, he's got his friends there, and he's actually, doing a little bit better as far as, being social, and he's, got a rhythm going. So I don't know if that's the answer, that it's every day. I guess I just take it every day, one day at a time.
Yeah. And I think
someday I won't have him. So, now I have to keep reminding myself of that.
Yeah. And I think really it's doing the best you can every day. I know there's so many people that listen to this that have the same situation with parents that have dementia. And I just want you guys to know that, get help, get self-care, go talk to somebody that's dealing with this, because this has been so new for me and Alex. I never thought I'd know so much about this disease, but now that you are around it, then what do they call it? The reticular activator goes off. You see it all around you all the time. Once you experience something at a personal level, then you realize that so many other people suffer from that same situation. So please go get support. If you ever want to talk to us, we can certainly, hopefully give you some hope. But it's definitely been a challenge for us, and an ongoing challenge. But she said it right. We just treasure those times, when we have him present.
You do, and I think to your point, yes, it's kind of like when you see a car, you're like, oh, I really like that car. And then all of a sudden you see the car everywhere. But I feel that we're getting to an age that with our friends, we're all kind of going through the same thing, because, we're emptying, the friend group we have, every single friend we have, I feel has something going on with a parent.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it even, we're getting used to the fact that we're getting older too, and that this is the progression, this is the next phase in our life. And, is like I said, I'm glad I still have my dad here. So there's, a day that I'm going to wish I had my parents. I know you wish you had your dad here. I wish I had my mom here, but, as sad as that is, it's enjoy the times that you have with them, no matter what they're going through, and definitely get self-care, because you can make yourself, actually sick. So.
Yeah, very true. Thanks, honey, for being so open about that. And So let's shift gears into something that's a little bit more, I guess, positive. Raising kids. So many of you know Alex and I. We've had a couple kids. We're empty nesters now, but we're blessed to have two amazing children. Our daughter's a pitching coach for a Division I softball team on the East Coast. Well-accomplished career. We spent many hundreds of games watching her play. She actually played professionally in Italy. So that's our daughter. We're very proud of her. Our son's a third-year medical student at Creighton University here in Phoenix. He took a commission in the United States Air Force. So when he's done with his residency, he'll be giving the Air Force his commitment to serve our country, just like my two grandfathers did, just like my father did in Vietnam, and just like I did. And so my son will be an officer in the United States Air Force. So we couldn't be more proud of him. And people are always asking us, Jeff and Alex, how'd you raise such good kids? How'd you do that? I mean, first of all, I'll say I give it up to the Lord, and that's the number one. He gifted us with these children to hopefully we can be a good steward with what he gave us, but I think there's also some gifts that hopefully, he gave us over the years. So what's your take, Alex? How did they turn out to be such amazing people?
Well, as my father would say, it skips a generation. No, bless his heart. I can't think of one thing other than just like you said, giving it up to God, because we aren't perfect parents, and there were definitely, times that we could have probably been better parents. But I think the biggest thing is just we always encouraged them and we always supported them. Through whatever, we encouraged them, ups and downs of whatever they were doing. And both of them played sports. So, the wins and the losses. And I can't pinpoint one thing that you and I did well, other than, kept them active, kept them doing things. I think sports, and this is just my opinion. Of course, I'm not a psychologist or a, MD, but I do believe that sports encourages kids, it teaches them how to win and lose. I see so many things in the workplaces, be whatever job that I've had, that there's a generation of kids that always got trophies for everything they did, and it's hard for them in the workplace to take criticism or fail. And I guess the biggest thing is that you have to learn to fail. And we allowed our kids to fail and win, and also kept them going to church and reading the Bible to them and keeping them involved in activities. But I really believe that a lot of that, their drive and their crazy competitiveness, if it's not actually hereditary from us, but I owe it to the things that, the activities they did. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really believe that letting a child fail and, being there to pick them up instead of being, a helicopter really helps them later when they become an adult.
Yep. There's so many things I think that when it comes to parenting, I would recommend, not that I'm an expert, but there's a few things I did really believe in. You have to kind of protect their inner circle and make sure that they're hanging around the right people, right? Because your inner circle is pretty important. And so if they're hanging around kids that are trouble, chances are that trouble might arrive at your doorstep. I also believe that positive reinforcement is a very big deal. So I usually tried to have like a 90-10 ratio. I'd give them a lot of positive reinforcement and then that 10%, critical feedback. But I sure the heck did not want my kids to be, entitled in one bit. They both know that whatever they're gonna have to achieve in life is gonna have to be because they worked for it. The last thing that Alex and I ever wanted was having kids that are victims. That's just not the way that we roll. So we taught them a lot of responsibility, and told them that there's consequences for all their choices and all their actions. Mm-hmm. So their choices are important. So we'd always say that, make good choices, and Alex is right. We tried to keep them, in church. We tried to prioritize the things that mattered. And I think some years we were exhausted. We would constantly be on the weekends somewhere other than relaxing at home. We were on some ball diamond or some basketball court for like 15 years, it seemed like.
Yes. The only thing that we didn't stay and watch is when Christian was doing chess tournaments.
Yeah, we dropped him off on chess tournaments because we found real early in that process that they're not too exciting. So we'd go watch our daughter play softball, and we'd be in our softball gear, and we'd show up at 5 o'clock when they were finishing up the chess tournament, and he'd be collecting trophies and amongst a lot of other people that were wearing NASA shirts and things like that. So that was a fun time because that's my son's extremely intelligent when it comes to critical things like math and science, and so we got to watch him really excel in chess, and he also played other sports too. So yeah, that was a fun time.
I think all the things, raising confident kids is key too. Just I look at both of them and I think, wow, at their age, they're way more confident than I was at that age. They stand by their convictions, but they're compassionate and they're good listeners. But they just, I'm proud of them for that because, I was not a confident young adult. I don't believe.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're Gen Xers, right? And everybody loops Gen Xers into some genre, and everybody has their opinion on us. And then there's also these opinions about millennials and Gen Zs and such. I think there's there's this concept that, Gen Xers just grind. We work hard. We're a bunch of workaholics. And then what I see in this younger generation, there are some things I think we can learn from them. I think they actually value experiences.
Yes.
And I think that's important in life. They value relationships. I think there's a lot of people in our age group, Alex, that I just think we just work and work and work. And that's just kind of the way it was and the way it's always been. So what do you think in terms of like the pros and cons between our generations and our kids' generation?
We were raised by boomers, so I'm sure my parents, for those of you who don't know, my dad is a baker. He immigrated from Germany in his late 20s to the United States, and then met my mom, and they owned a bakery. So I grew up in a bakery, and I worked in a bakery. I can't even remember how young I was when I started working. So there was that work ethic. Not only did I have, boomer parents, but I also had an immigrant that he was a hard worker, and they own their own business all their life. So that taught me a lot, but it also, yes, you're right. I grew up, if you're on time, you're late, so I've got that, maybe I can learn from the younger that, it's okay to, stop before work and get a cup of coffee, or, it's okay to enjoy the little things instead of just, being so focused on work.
Yeah, that's right.
I do agree with that, but I also think that, they can learn a lot from us as well. And, I'm not going to sit here and be one of those, Gen X is the best, but we all have something to learn from each other. I mean, look at our parents. I mean, your parents especially were, raised, your great grandparents were, or your grandparents, your grandmother was raised in the Depression, so then so it's, kind of breaking the cycle a little bit too, being open enough to wanting to learn from each other instead of just saying that, this generation's this, and just, stop putting each other in a box and maybe learn from each other,
Right. We do that a lot, don't we? We put labels on all of us. When my grandparents on my father's side were dirt poor. My dad was dirt poor. And you always want to have your kids live a better life than you. But I don't necessarily think that's all about money either. Right. I mean, you want your kids to do well. But I think you also want to teach them in ways that are not of this world either, right? There's earthly treasures and there's what I would call heavenly treasures, right? If you get too focused on money all the time, then you're going to be chasing that the rest of your life. You'll never be satisfied. But I think there is something to be said for, I want my kids to have a more successful life than me. But there's no way around it. You got to work hard, in this life, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough at times, and I don't know where I'm going with all that, honey, but maybe you can sum it up.
Oh no, I'm just going to stand by. I think we can learn something from each other, and
for sure.
You just, of course, sometimes I'm like, well, shoot, I'm a Gen Xer. I can't, that just doesn't seem right, but
Yeah.
who's to say, right?
Exactly.
Maybe us Gen Xers sometimes are just a little envious of the fact that, because, we, for example, working from home, right? Personally, I know it's just a personal thing. Like I'm not someone that wants to work from home, right? But there's a lot of younger people that's what they do. But yes, they do have I feel like more maybe of a balance, or maybe you could have a balance of it. But I don't know. I think you're right with I think, I don't even know where I'm going with that, but I think maybe we can just learn from each other. That's what I'm going to say about that.
Exactly. No, I totally
That's
hear
all
you.
I got to say about that.
Speaking about a Gen X movie. All right. So another popular topic, this will be fun. So, we've been married for a long time. And a lot of people, that's our dog. And a lot of people, when they're married that long, they kind of lose their zest for their romance and they become more just friends. So do you have any advice for married couples so they can keep their romance alive? And, of course, we're going to keep this PG, of course, but just how do married couples stay in love with each other versus just loving each other?
I think you have to be intentional about it too. I mean, it's, we get older, you come home, you're tired. And I think for us, things that have worked for us is, saying, hey, date night, like at least, once or twice a month, or if for some people just once a month, but being intentional, like, getting the tickets and getting the reservations and making it so, you have to do this, but just planning something instead of just doing the same old every night.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I come home and I am tired sometimes, and I do just want to sit and eat dinner and, watch some whatever docuseries we're watching, So, but I think being intentional.
Yeah, I agree. And I think personally, I've not always been good at that. I struggle with it. And it's like you have to take action and do things to keep, just keep creativity and excitement in your life. In fact, lately I've been thinking about how, I have no problems just watching a movie, most of the evenings. But then I think to myself, boy, I feel like I'm wasting my evenings, So I actually came across a YouTube thing the other day. It said how to not waste your evenings. So I've been thinking about different things besides just watching a movie, on Netflix or YouTube or whatever. So it's kind of a balance, sometimes you're just exhausted, at the end of the day, and you just need to check out. And then other times I'm like, I probably need to do something in the evenings, because life can be very just boring and repetitive. So I agree. I think you need to be intentional at doing stuff. And I think you've done personally a much better job than me in this area as far as planning things for us. And I'm so appreciative of that.
That's okay. I plan things that I like too. So it's,
That's good.
No, it's funny. I think knowing each other. So, you're an on person, right? You're an extrovert. You recharge from people all the time, right? Whereas me, like I said before, I think I'm that I can be on and on and on, but when I come home, I need to recharge and not do anything. So that's where I think we balance each other, because you will push me to come on, we need to go, and then I end up having fun. It's just sometimes I get home and I want to stay home.
Yeah, absolutely. So since you're so good at this marriage thing, could you give any women advice on how to make a marriage work? So give some women some advice on what you think would be a great thing to do as a woman in a marriage.
Goodness. Well, I'm not going to give any of that, stay home and cook dinner kind of thing. But I think being partners and also, like I said, knowing what each other's little quirks are and not focusing in on those things, it's hard sometimes, I know, for you too and me, but just finding the good, finding the fun, have fun, don't take things so seriously. Being a woman is hard sometimes because you're also a mother, and it doesn't matter if your kids are 22 or 24, because I'm telling you, I still worry about my kids. I still, our daughter is across the country, and I will see a Lyft ride, that she's sharing with me. And I'm like, okay, is she going to make it there? Is she going to make it home? Like, what's happening? Why is she taking a Lyft? So, it's never going to go away. So being a mom, it's, you juggle all of that, and I think sometimes you can get lost. You can lose yourself because you're trying to take care of everyone. Because I think that's just a woman thing to do. You want to take care of everyone. And then you can get a little resentful because then all of a sudden you're taking care of everybody. And so taking time, and this is going to sound terrible, but take time for yourself too. I mean, no matter what it is, if like take a bath or read a book. I'm a huge reader. I love to read books. So I'll just go in the other room and read a book. And that way you're getting a little bit of yourself too, and that helps with your relationship because then you're not so that caregiver of everyone, and I think we just touched on it. It's like I have my kids, I have my dad, I have my husband, I have my dog that keeps barking. It's you just have to remember that you can't do everything. So take some time. And that way your relationship will be better.
Yeah. It's, first of all, you talked a little bit about how, women should not feel guilty for who they are, right? I mean, some women want to stay home and that's amazing.
That's fine. Some
people want to go to work. Some women want to go, and that's great, right? It's, so I don't think women should apologize for who they are at all, and I think that's a dangerous thing when people start. I've seen women judge each other. Don't they judge each other for that kind of stuff? I mean, it's kind of sad.
Yes. And I've been on both sides. When the kids were little, I had the opportunity to stay home. I was doing real estate on the side, but I stayed home probably for a good 10 years and just did real estate. Even when we opened our own company, I still had a schedule enough then, but staying home on that side of it, I saw how, women on both sides, you're judging each other because, she's working. She's not a good mother because she's working, or she's not a good mother because she's staying home. How can, so yes, I think women are the worst sometimes to each other, but we can also be the best too. We can be the best supporters. We can, be the best friends. But yes, I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of judgment, and social media hasn't helped it at all. Not to be Gen Xer, but it's a constant judging, and not just from each other, but online. And it's unfortunate because we should build each other up. But as long as I've been a woman for X amount of years, because I'm not going to give away my age, it's always been that way. It's always been that way.
Gosh, that is so interesting. So I'm thinking about two things with what you said. I think, so I'm a real estate coach. Everybody knows that. So I talk to a lot of people, men and women. And, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of women over the years who are in their 40s and 50s. And it's almost kind of like they're an empty vessel and they serve everyone else. Because you're right. They're trying to help their husband out. They're trying to take care of their kids. They're taking care of the house. They're cooking. They're cleaning. They're doing everything. Right. Which, by the way, I just have the most immense respect for women, because that's a lot of the times that's the way it is. But they do nothing for themselves. So they're literally like, they're just emptied out, their spirit leaves them and they have nothing for themselves because they've just given so much, and I just, that's one of the first things I typically talk to women about at that age when they start telling me this is, what are you doing for yourself? It's not a selfish thing to want to go do something for you. What do you think on that?
No, it definitely isn't. I mean, of course, everything in proportion, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people that are going to be listening to this know that I love shoes, right? So finding a good shoe deal, that energizes me, or like I said, just reading a book. It doesn't have to be anything that's costing money or, but just taking some time for yourself, it's okay to do that and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's also a time, I know that when you have small children, it's hard to do that, right? I get it. And that's a time, right? But I'm telling you, if you have small children right now, enjoy it, embrace it, because it goes by so fast. And I know people tell you that, but it really does. So, find the time when you can.
Yeah.
you know?
And back to what you were talking about with the women that judge each other or can be really good for each other, right? You're so right on. I can tell you men in general, I'm making generalities here, but men are loners. And that's part of the reason why I honestly think that we die earlier, because we simply try to take on everything on our own and we don't reach out for help. And then with women, I've seen tribes of women come together and so support each other in such a special way, to where there's a support system there. And men, I don't think feel like there is one. But yet the flip side of it is they can be very critical, with each other. So I think you nailed it. It's like if they would just embrace the togetherness of it and just accept the differences and honor the differences, it'd be a lot better. And men, yeah, we're a whole mess. We need help. We need other men in our lives. I've said that many times. A good man has usually a great woman right beside him, and he also probably has some very good men that are counseling him and mentoring him. I know I have a few in my life, and they're pretty critical to my life. So, what do you think about men, honey? You've seen me for a long time. I mean, how?
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, there's been times where I'm like, go do that. You're all so-and-so invited me to do this. I'm like, well, go do it. Have friends.
Have friends.
I do feel that men, now again, this is generalization, because I do know that there's some men that, watch football together and hang out all the time and too. But I think, for us, you do need to have friends outside of me. Just like I have my girlfriends that, we can talk at a different level, and not about men, but just about, what women, what we're, every stage of our life, what's happening with us, and
Yep.
You need that support. So men, I feel like you need that support, but I don't think you're so out. How can I say this? You forget to take time for yourself too, and go enjoy things and, go walk the Arizona Trail like you want to go.
Yes. If anybody ever wants to walk the Arizona Trail with me, that's that's a bucket list for me, by the way.
Yeah. And it's not a bucket list for me. So.
And that's another thing that's interesting about marriage, right? There's certain things that she likes that I don't like, certain things I like she doesn't like, but that's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
I know.
So one of the last things coming down the home stretch I wanted to talk about is, so we're both in the real estate business. So, she's a state manager for a nationwide real title company, and she's really working hard. I'm very proud of her. And me being an agent and a coach and a leader in my company, most of the time we've seen ups in the market. It's been overall we've been very blessed by being in this industry, and we've been able to have time to see our kids grow up. We saw a lot of games along the way and things like that. But what's it like, Alex, being in the same line of business, especially when the market usually affects both of us in a very good way or not such a good way?
Well, we've been doing this for so long together. I mean, since 2002, I think we've been, at least that's when I got my real estate license, and we've been in and out of it, right? So I think when was it? The first time of the recession, 2008? What was it?
Yeah, 2006. Yep.
Yeah, that year, those years. I remember, you and I didn't even have, we literally were working back to back. We had our desks, with our backs to each other, and just, we didn't have jobs. We were, pounding the pavement. And that's when unfortunately, all the REOs started coming in and for short sales. And, those weren't fun because, it's still people's lives that was, all of your clients, you feel bad for them going through those things. And so that was an emotional time too. But I feel that those times have actually made us stronger to where, yes, the industry goes up and down for us, but I'm not, once you go down once and you make it through it, you're not so scared. You're not so scared you're like, yeah, we've seen this, we've gotten through it. And we'll get through it again. So, and if everything went away, I think we'd still make it. So, I think as we've gotten older, the fear has gone away of it, but it's definitely, you just never know. You never know what it's going to be like. So, have a little, save your money. If you're going to do this, you're going to both be in the same, industry, save your money. Don't overextend yourself because when the good times are good, it's great. But, those times are coming. It's cyclical, it really is.
Yeah, such sage advice, honey. I mean, you're so right. Like over the last 6 months, 2024, have been brutal in the real estate industry. One of the worst times, actually, because the affordability has been so difficult for so many Americans. And because of that, we've had a transactional recession. The transactions just aren't there. But because we went through '06 and '07, because we started a company, you and I, with a partner in 2009, which was arguably one of the roughest years ever, at a financial meltdown. We went through those hard times. And now I knew going into this year when the market shifted, it would be very difficult. But I was like thinking, you know what, we've done it before, we can do it again. And that's why I think people look at me sometimes, they're like, I can't believe like you're so resilient. I'm like, no, I'm not resilient. I've just done it. And I know that we can do it again. And so for those that are out there thinking, well, should I continue with this career? You absolutely should if you want to. And if you're passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, don't give up on it, because things always come back. You know, the market should be better next year as well. So she's exactly right. Once you've done it, you feel like, man, I can do it again. Just get a little bit better next time.
Yeah. I think that wisdom comes with age.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, honey, when you look back at our marriage, I was reflecting on these thoughts today and thinking about the best memories that we've had. And I can honestly say, I think my best memories in our marriage were celebrating our kids' wins. That was really fun. Watching my babies, being born was obviously right up there at the top, but watching our kids, succeed, when my son got to put that white coat on going into med school, that was a moment, and then just travel, the travel that we've gone on. That's one thing we both love to do, is we love to travel, and just all the experiences we've seen, what are some of your memories?
Gosh, there's so many memories, and you look at the, obviously you always look at the fun times, right? It's traveling all over for softball, all over the country. Those were our vacations. We vacationed around softball for so long. And, I know at the times we were like, we're going to sit on the field for a week. But I think, we would drag Christian with us. Poor guy. He went on a lot of softball and he was a good sport about it. But I think all the little moments, all the wins they've had, when Micah committed to the college that she went to for softball, when, Christian put his white coat on, you're right. When I saw him in his Air Force uniform and, officer training. But I think that the best moments were when we used to surprise them. Remember, we used to put them in the car and say, okay, pack a bag. And then we'd make them guess where we were taking them. And our son hates camping. So we would always kid him around. And we would say, oh, did you see the camping gear in the back? And he'd get so upset about it. Like, oh, I don't want to go camping. And I'm like, oh, if he only knew that I'm not a camper either. So it was never going to be camping. But those were fun times when we used to do that. Remember, we used to just put them in the car, and then they'd get to guess on the way there. And then we'd end up where we took them horseback riding once up in Flagstaff, or to Magic Mountain. We would just go, okay, get in the car. We're going on vacation. Those were fun.
Those were so good.
But yeah,
so
I mean, we've gone all over, done so many things. You look back and I don't know if there's just one moment other than the big moments, birth of your child, Christian getting married, you look back, and if you can look back with fondness and happiness, then I think you're fulfilled. You can be fulfilled, and you never want to have those regrets, right? So just know that you are where you are and where you're supposed to be. And all those moments have shaped you into who you are.
We're certainly not perfect parents, and
No.
I still try to figure it out every day. It's like, when the kids left, we had such a fun time with them as they grew up, and then they left, and everything just comes to a stop. It's like everything just changes overnight, and we're looking at each other and we're like, gosh, we need to kind of rekindle our relationship. And it's such a difficult thing because you want to keep the line taut with your kids, right? You want to take care of them. You want to make sure they're okay. But in a certain other way, you got to let them go. And there's a fine line there, between, too much parenting as they go into adulthood and just completely nothing, right? So I think that's also something that's a fine line, and you have to learn, right? How to be their friend and also their parent. It's hard.
It's so hard because that you have to let them make mistakes, right? We made mistakes. We're still making mistakes. I mean, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but you almost have, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. It's hard to not want to say something, but they are adults, and we can only give them the advice we can give them when needed. But I think that's the hardest part, is watching your kids just struggle at times.
Yeah.
And because you want to fix it, you want to go, oh, I can fix this, but
Yep.
Because we know how we felt when we were their age, and our parents try to tell us,
Yeah.
It's not until you get older that you're like, oh, I should have listened to my parent.
Yeah. 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 I see a lot of kids now. I call it the failure to launch. They're just not equipped. Right. And they just, some of them end up, staying with their parents for decades. Well, I don't know.
I know, but I do want to always, I want them to always know they have a place.
Yeah,
to come
absolutely.
back to,
Absolutely.
But I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, they can come back, but they're going to leave.
You need to go and be free. Go be free.
Go be free. Yeah.
Go be free.
But I think that takes a lot of trust. It takes trust in the creator that he's going to take care of them. And, you can't be there for everything. And it is a process, I think, to let go. It's a process. It's a process when they leave. It's a process when you kind of rekindle things with your spouse. A lot of things have changed, and so I just hope that today helps some people out, maybe, and that, maybe we said a few things that might have got you to think a little bit, maybe how you could perhaps improve some things. I'm glad you got to get to know my bride better, because she is just the wind beneath my wings. She's an incredibly successful lady, and I'm just very blessed that I think I hit the jackpot in my life. I grew up with great parents. My mom took great care of me, fed me amazingly. My wife is an amazing human being, great cook. She cooks some amazing meals after all the things that she does all day at work, and she still has time to do that. I never take it for granted. So if you're lucky like me, please tell your wife how much you love her. Yeah. So
you make it easy.
Thank you.
And,
so
you like to eat anything, so it's.
I will eat anything. Absolutely. So last question, honey, anything you want to share that you wish I would have asked you, or anything as we launch into 2025? We have a lot of real estate people that watch the show, or anything in particular you want to share?
No, I really can't. I can't. Just take it day by day, keep doing what you're doing. Just it'll get better, things will get better, and find the joy. I think that's the biggest thing. Find the joy, find the joy in all the things you do, it's hard sometimes, especially if you're commuting on the freeway.
Yeah.
But, I'm really trying to be intentional about that anymore, especially with, everything with my parents. And, it's just, find the joy in the little things, just look at the Christmas tree and find, there's this season, there's joy, but find it all year long. I don't know if that was sage advice or not, but.
No, it's good. Find the joy and be grateful. Be grateful. Yeah.
And you know what? Let things go. Learn to let things go.
Wow, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, friends, we're going into 2025, and I just want to say thank you for everybody that's been watching this. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Let us know, what you'd like to hear about next year in 25. I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to my podcast. It's called The Jeff Sutherland Show. It's on YouTube. We help buyers and sellers in Phoenix, and I also help agents to better productivity nationwide. So you can check us out. Go to my podcast on YouTube, or you can go to my website, jeffsutherland.com. I'm here with my dearest wife of 31 years in January, and I'm blessed, and I'm thankful that she's here today. I hope y'all enjoyed listening, and we will see you in 2025, my friends.